Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Pocket Coaching. I'm Katie, and this is Penny, and we are Pet and Parent Longevity. Last week, we talked about these three resources: time, money, and energy. And really the fact that health is this tool that we use to live the life we want to live, and it buys back us these resources. We talked about it, time. You can actually buy back time, right? But let's kind of dive into this money piece, because most of the time when people think about getting healthy for themselves, for their pets, one of the first obstacles for many people that comes to mind is, I'm going to have to financially invest in this. I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. What are your thoughts on this? Is this something you see on the pet side too?
Cost is a really big barrier. You just have to find any vet, whether you know them socially or a vet that you see in a practice, whether it's your vet. Every vet has stories of pets that they've had to put down or been asked to put down because the owners couldn't afford to pay for the treatment, couldn't afford to pay for the cost of restoring health or, whatever to that animal. And so it's a heartbreaking industry. And it's really serious, because if you've got pet insurance, you're probably going to be covered for a bunch of stuff, but you still may need it up front, but you're probably covered for a good amount of stuff. A lot of people don't have pet insurance, especially if you've got an older pet who hasn't been insured as they've been getting older. It's very hard to find cover that will look after what's deemed to be a geriatric pet. And so you're left having to do out-of-pocket expenses. And that can be significant, especially as they're older, right? Because most of those lifestyle diseases are going to start clicking in at around about, double digits, right? And that's when the pet insurance tends to start to disappear. But screening for, if you're doing ultrasounds or CT scans or any cancer treatments, these are thousands of pounds or dollars, depending on, right? There's a good chunk of people who just don't have that sitting there waiting for that emergency situation. But we know that things like cancer, things like diabetes and arthritis, and some of these really big lifestyle conditions that, kidney failure and whatever, they're all preventable. So if you want to spend a lot of money on it, do that. But if you don't, then by investing in wellness now at any stage prior to a disease kind of becoming fully fledged and diagnosed, right, whatever you want to call that, if you're preventing before that happens, then you probably will never get to that point of being diagnosed, because you're constantly making your immune system stronger and stronger to combat anything that it's encountering, right? Cancer cells are appearing in every single body, animal and human, every day. And our immune system is going around and picking them off and getting rid of them, and we get rid of them, and we don't develop the disease of cancer. But if you don't keep maintaining that immune system's ability to seek and destroy those cells, then eventually there comes a point where cancer starts to win. And then eventually down the line, there comes a point where there's a diagnosis. And then when you've got a diagnosis is when you're going to have to also be forking out a lot of money. So you get this double whammy. You're in fear now because health is being lost. Potentially time is being lost. I mean, one of the biggest questions when people ask with cancer, I'm just using this as an example, is how much time do I have? How much time is time's a huge factor. We talked about that last week. You can't separate any of these things out, but you can save a crazy amount of money by prevention rather than trying to do a cure.
Yeah, here in the US, it's obviously we have a different kind of healthcare system than you have there in the UK, but for a lot of people, they don't have good insurance because good insurance is really expensive. And I'm talking to the human side now. And when you're in the position of, do I just live with what's happening right now and let it continue, or do I get the medical support that I need, and again use this resource of money to get it? That's a terrible place to be, whether it's for your health or for your own health. And obviously we could go down the path of the healthcare system not quite being what it needs to be, but because there's so much that we can prevent, I really want to kind of give people hope in that sense. Like, look, there are things that happen that we might not be able to prevent, right? Like if someone hits you with their car, right? Like there's only so much you can do to prevent that from happening, right? And you want to be able to invest your resources in case, or have those resources in case something like that does happen. And in order to kind of allocate, we need to make sure that we are taking those steps to prevent what we can prevent. And there's so much you can do. There's so much you can do. And despite what many people think of the barriers of money, there are a lot of things that you can do that are no cost and low cost. And this is something that we're always preaching, like literally preaching about, because it's like, you need to know about this. You deserve to know about these free and low cost resources, so that if it's a matter of, do this, not this, and they're both free, but you just kind of do the one. Penny, help me out with an example here, but why not just switch, right? There's no barrier to it except for that knowledge and your willingness to do it.
And so, I mean, you're going to feed your pet, for example, right? You're going to feed your pet anyway. Let's hope. I mean, you really are. You're going to feed your pet anyway. So whether you buy the bag of kibble that you know is going to take them down a pathway of health disaster, or whether you buy raw food, whatever that looks like, that you know is going to take them down a health journey with a totally different outcome, right? You're going to be spending money. But the difference between the two is so fractional. And in many cases, I've actually had clients come to me, and I found the same as well. But I know it depends on where you live in the world and accessibility and stuff. So I'm not going to give you a blanket, it always works this way. But so many of my clients and myself found that when we did the analysis of cost per bowl, right, it's actually cheaper to feed real raw food than it is to buy the commercial pre-made stuff. So there's an example of where knowing something, right, having the knowledge, being able to put it into practice gives you a cost saving, because not only is it an upfront, which is what I'm talking about, an upfront cost saving, like it's less money at the cash register to buy one food versus the other over time, over those meals, right? But you're also saving on vet bills with this bowl as opposed to the bowl over here, because this bowl is not going to lead to those diseases in anywhere near the same numbers. There's always going to be an example where there's an exception to the rule, right? But your odds are significantly reduced of developing those diseases when you're feeding real food, because the body can work with that and develop the immune system and nourish the cells and do all the things that maintain health and increase health span. So you don't have to pay the vet bills on top, and then you don't pay the medications on top, because you don't need a medication because you're being properly nourished. So it's a deferred cost and an immediate cost that you get. This is why I'm so passionate about trying to teach guys how to do the 7 pillars, because across the board, those 3 main resources that we just prize so much, and it's hard to get more of them, right? The time, the money, and the freedom. If you lose them, it's hard to get them back, right? But if you can nurture them to begin with, and this is nurturing all 3 to begin with.
Yeah.
So, I wish everybody knew.
Yeah, the point is, there's a spectrum. There's free, there's low cost, there's high cost. If you want to go that route, awesome. But you should have choices, and you do have choices. And at the end of the day, that's what we're really talking about, is being empowered with the knowledge that you will not only do you have the power, but it's within your reach. There aren't as many barriers as you might think. And I know how scary it can be if you're kind of first dabbling and you're interested, but you're not really sure. Because I was there. Absolutely. And Penny, you've been there. And so we totally get it. Taking those first few steps goes a long way. So picking those few things where it's no cost, it's a switch, and it's little time investment, it's little energy investment, and really get the ball rolling. And that has a massive, massive payoff. And then you can just continue to build from there. So along those lines, we have some pretty exciting news. Speaking of low and no cost resources, we are opening up Rejuvenate, our membership, today. So Rejuvenate in our membership, every month we focus on a specific topic And we bring you these different resources, different avenues of healing, both preventative and also once it's there, what you can do, whether it's symptoms or a full-blown disease state. So this month, we are focusing on structural alignment. So we're going to be talking about fascia, osteopathy, chiropractic. This is one of those areas where you might have heard about it for yourself, but maybe you didn't know it exists for your pet or vice versa. And it absolutely crosses the species lines. I have seen incredible improvement with my little Peanut and her intervertebral disc disease. We're going to have to show you some like before and after pictures from doing some of these body work type strategies. So again, you can start early if you're like me and you're starting a little bit later. Peanut is 16. Either way, and this is stuff you can do with your hands, like a free stuff you can do with your hands. And speaking of that, the payoff I have seen from these free strategies that I'm doing at home with her have paid off more than what I was paying for, whether it was her medication, her symptom management, other people working on her. Like, this stuff is so powerful. I really, really can't wait to share it with you guys, because it's literally, again, it's life-changing. So we have that coming up for you. We're going to be doing the mini podcast this month, the masterclass, a resource handout for you guys. And we're also going to be having a special guest workshop speaker for you this month in June as well. So head to joinrejuve.com and you can sign up for Rejuvenate. It's going to be open for a short period of time, and then we're going to close it up again so we can share all these incredible resources with you and you can start implementing it. Penny, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, in terms of a no cost or a low cost investment, we've tried to put as much value into there for you to change as possible. And you really can, like, we're talking big picture stuff here with what we've been discussing in terms of saving time and saving money in really meaningful ways. This is how you do it. And so this is take you to the very first step. Here's what you can do, one step in bite-sized pieces that take you there. So it's designed to give you freedom over those three things, those three resources: time, money, and energy, or freedom, right? That are hard to come by otherwise. So for a very small upfront cost, you get a big payoff, and not just for you, but for your fur family as well.
All right, well, head to join Rejuve, R-E-J-U-V, joinrejuve.com to sign up, and we'll see you there. So until then.